let's be honest, it's not easy just to decide I'm going to stop doing what I thought I was going to do the rest of my life and I'm going to go find some other job out there.
I'm Lisa Harding, ex-EdTech CEO turned certified teacher career coach. It wasn't all that long ago that I was recruiting, interviewing, and hiring teachers for roles in corporate America. Teachers that ended up being some of my all-time best employees. Fast forward through my own career transition, where I left my role as CEO to become a stay-at-home mom, I now work with and empower teachers to transform their lives by turning their once distant career dreams into realities. In this podcast, I give you simple, actionable, step-by-step strategies to help you do the same. If you're a burnt-out teacher or simply need a change and you're looking to create a life you love, you're in the right place, friend. Let's get started.
All right, everyone. This is why we're all here. So Danielle, I am so thankful that you're here tonight. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm tired. It's the end of the week, so it's I'm ready for the weekend, but I'm doing pretty well. Thank you.
I feel it, Jess. I don't know if it's just been like a week. And also, I don't know about anyone else, but all of my tech decided not to work today. It was like every platform that I use just dropped. So I think everyone is just in that, like, it's Thursday, it's almost Friday. Let's get us there. So I'm with you. We definitely need the weekend. Danielle, can you just start off by telling us a little bit about what were you doing when you were in the classroom? What are you doing now? And just kind of overall, how has that transition into a new role really impacted your life as a whole?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. So I was a special education teacher. I taught special education for about 4 years. I was in a autistic support classroom. So Pennsylvania kind of silos classrooms that way. So I would say like low incidence, the students on my caseload, I had about like 6 to 8 students on my caseload. And now I'm in an HR training specialist role, same in Pennsylvania. And I work in higher ed in the HR department, and I'm doing learning and development and helping with onboarding and things like that right now. And thinking about how the career transition changed my overall quality of life. You could ask me and everyone around me. I've gotten it so many times from friends, from family, that like, it's crazy how I changed my life over the past year. And like, I was a different person last year than I am today. And I'm feeling like so much more energized, even though I said I was tired, so much more energized, so much like more, I feel just like better inside and out. And I have more time for myself now. And I think I can focus more on what I need instead of like what I need for work, you know?
Totally. As someone who, again, has like made that same lead, those are all the things that I feel. And you even saying like, my friends notice it, my family notices it, that resonates with me a lot. And this actually just happened to me recently where I took a vacation when I wanted to take a vacation, which was just in the middle of February, not when I would have had time off as a teacher. And when I came back, my boss was like, you just seem like overall refreshed and renewed. And like, you're like glowing in a way that I haven't seen you glow. And it was even in that moment where I was like, wow, I don't remember when I left a vacation from teaching and came back where people are like, oh, you're glowing, you're great. I felt like my entire vacation when teaching was just like survival mode to be like, okay, I got X amount of days or X amount of weeks to like pull myself together before I have to do this for another X amount of weeks. So kind of like in that moment, I'm like, man, if I can go on a vacation now and like actually enjoy myself and enjoy what I planned, like I actually never got to do that. I never enjoyed my vacations before. So it was just me trying to like pump myself back up to go back in the classroom. So honestly, it made me think about that. I feel that's actually the same case for me. I knew I was feeling better, but like people are noticing it too. And that does feel good. I love that. So let's start by talking about a little bit about how did you know? Because I feel like a lot of people, they hear this calling or they feel this inkling of like, maybe this doesn't feel right. But let's be honest, it's not easy just to decide I'm going to stop doing what I thought I was going to do the rest of my life. And I'm going to go find some other job out there. So for you, how did that come about? And when did you start realizing that it was time to switch jobs and switch careers?
Yeah. So I think for me, I noticed throughout my whole career as a teacher that I would tell people what I did. Like, I'm a special education teacher and I do X, Y, and Z. And they'd kind of meet me with like the whole, oh, wow, like you have to be a really special person to do that. And I really didn't like that. And I was like, I feel like you have your job, I have my job, you do what you do. It's just my job. And
Right.
so it never really bothered me until I would say the beginning of last school year was just very difficult. And I started to kind of take a step back and realize like, oh, I am doing a lot and way too much other than like my friends are doing, my family's
Yeah.
doing in their job. And I think like for me, I realized that like it wasn't worth what I was putting myself through.
Totally.
And I think that that's my moment. There were things that happened. I mean, you know, like with administration and us asking for help and all those things where I kind of just everything all really happened at once. And then it was like
Sure.
an all right, I have to leave. Like I don't know when it's gonna happen. I don't know where it's gonna happen, where I'm gonna go, but like I need to try to look into something else. I need to I
Totally.
can't do this for the rest of my life. So, that realization was I can't do this for the rest of my life and I need to find something else. What else will I find? I have no idea, but I was
Yeah.
like, I can do something else. So, that was a big realization for me around like Thanksgiving of last year because I had
Okay.
Thanksgiving break I spent miserable and
Yeah.
my family was like, "What's going on?" So, I think that was, like, the time where I was just thinking of school nonstop, and it wasn't healthy anymore.
Totally. I'm so glad that you were able to realize that then, especially start making an exit plan, which did obviously work out all in your favor.
Mhm.
But I know so many people that are listening can relate to that, where it's like you feel it and you're not sure. But I can tell you if you haven't like felt that moment yet, like you will have a moment at some point when you're just like, I've hit my wall. Like I just can't do this anymore. And I know there has to be something else out there. But I think what often blocks people a lot of the time is I know for myself, I did not personally go to college for education. I went for communications and I became a teacher after college. That's what my job ended up being. But people, I feel like when they have their heart set on education, I know you are someone who did go to college for education. So was that like hard or scary or how did you feel when it was like, okay, if I'm going to pick something new and I have this whole big world of jobs in front of me, like, what was that process like? Because I know that was like what was toughest for me is like, I know I need to leave, but what the heck do I do next? Like that
Yeah,
prevented me from even wanting to leave almost that feeling.
I think for me, I mean, like you said, I went to college for education, and I always wanted to be a teacher, so I never thought of anything different,
Yeah.
and I remember thinking to myself, like, I still feel like a kid because
Mm.
I've been in school my whole life, like,
Yeah.
not taking classes anymore, but I'm in a school, and I feel like I'm still a kid in school, so I think for me, it that was the realization too that, like, let's do something else, and
Yeah.
I thought my parents would meet me with, you know, "No, you have to stick it out. No, you have to do this.
Yeah.
No, you have to do that." They were like, "Don't stay. Like,
Yeah.
if this is like, literally, like, making you unhealthy, like, it's not worth it." So, I started looking into, like I remember looking up on Google, like, what can teachers do
Yeah.
outside of education? And it would be um like customer success, doing like learning and development, but also you could do anything. And I
Literally.
think that my realization looking at I would start to look at like open jobs on LinkedIn and just anything near me and look at like what are the qualifications? What is the day to day? And I saw so many jobs that I was like, I could do that. I
Yeah.
have skills and I could do those things. And so that was something where I was like, oh, I found certain, like, lanes to stay in, like, I would make my resume for learning and development roles, I would make my resume for, like, higher ed roles, I would make my resume for different types of roles that I was interested in, and then, um, kind of go from there.
Yeah. Yes, and I love that you're even saying that, and we'll definitely talk about, like, resumes and how to update them, but I love that you're even saying that you were thinking about it through those lanes, and that really is the whole battle with identifying a new career. We're not saying you have to go pick one thing, that you have to just be applying to that. You can have multiple lanes. I was the same. I was applying to things in marketing, I was applying to things in
Mhm.
sales, I was applying to things in learning and development, and I just had the lanes in which I was doing. So, how did you start to navigate, like, what lanes you were interested in? Because I think sometimes that just, like, the big ocean of all these different jobs can feel overwhelming. And like you said, we do have so many skills that I think sometimes people don't realize how much our skills translate into jobs outside of teaching, even though it's not always directly teaching. So
Mhm.
then what process did you go through to be like, these are the types of roles that I'd be interested in?
Yeah, I had to identify like what I loved about what I was doing. I remember making a list of like, okay, these are the things I really like about my job. These are the things I really don't like about my job.
Yeah.
And what where can I find something that I really enjoy and also could get paid for, but also like I don't have to love everything I'm doing.
Absolutely.
So I really focused in because of the autism, background. I really loved like advocacy, and it didn't have to be for, you know, students or like people with disabilities, but it just advocating for like how people learn and like
Yeah.
advocating for just like in general. That was something that I felt passionate towards. And so I just looked for that in the different companies that I would apply for and things like that. Like I really just wanted to feel like I was making some sort of a difference because in
Totally.
teaching that like that's the thing that people look for a lot of the time. And so I wanted to feel that and feel like I'm connecting with people. So um I just had to really identify what I liked to do and like what things did I want to have in my next role.
I love that process too of like noting those down because I know when I was at least applying, and I feel like I hear this a lot from people too, is once they do hit that point that they know they want something new, they get to a point where they're like, I'll do anything, I don't care. But it's like, we don't want to end up in the same position that we felt before, where like, this isn't right. Like, why did I ever put myself in these shoes? So I love that you really sat down and were like, what aspects do I like and what aspects do I don't like? So that makes it
Mhm.
so much easier. Like you said, when you're poking through job descriptions and open roles on LinkedIn and things like that, you can really take that list, whether it's mental or physical, and really start to decide, does this role actually sound interesting based on what I've identified? Like, I know I enjoy and I know what I would like to do. And I want to say, I
Mhm.
love that you also said, like, I don't have to love every part of my job. And that is so true. And I feel like for me and for many teachers, we are so passionate about teaching. That's one of the reasons it makes any other job feel more difficult, because it doesn't feel as powerful or as, and powerful not from like this the point of you have power, but like you're making an impact on someone's life. That's a very powerful feeling. Uh,
Mhm.
but it's so true that I get to feel that in so many aspects of my job of what I do. But there's also some things that I'm like, oh, it's not great, but it's fine. So
Mhm.
realizing when you're looking for jobs, you don't always have to find the thing that's like perfect to a T. Like there's always going to be aspects that are like not my favorite. And then there's parts of my job that I like absolutely love doing. I get so much joy and so much fulfillment out of it. So I love that you even named that, because I think it's scary for people to enter into something that they don't feel 100% bought in on. But at the same token, we don't want to just buy into something just because we feel like we have to get out of something else. So it's finding that right balance of like, what do I enjoy? What do I want to do? And what are the things that like, absolutely, I never want to do again,
Mhm.
you know? Uh, so can you talk a little bit more about the role that you're in now? So you ended up doing learning and development, but for a corporate company. And I can tell you,
Mhm.
learning and development is what so many teachers are interested in because it is so adjacent to what a teacher is doing. So can you talk a little bit about your role in your corporate company and how it relates, or even how it's different than teaching?
Yeah. So I am doing, like I said, training and development. And um, a lot of what I'm doing makes like I feel like I'm making lesson plans
Mm,
for the trainings that I'm doing. So when my manager, like when I would say the first month and a half, 2 months, we were talking about like the different things I'd be doing. And she was showing me like what it looks like when we plan for a training. And I remember being like, "Oh, like actually these are different parts of a lesson plan and you
mhm.
can, put this in here to make it better or like have like before, during, after, like that type of thing." And I was like, I feel like I know what I'm doing kind of. Like
Yeah.
there's still stuff to this day where I'm like I could get a lot better at that, but I do I'm presenting, in front of groups and also in virtually, and I feel like those are things that I've taken with me outside of the classroom as well. Um, a lot of, like, the people skills I've used outside of the classroom, and I feel
Mm,
like that's
yeah.
what a lot of places are looking for from what I've gathered is
Yes.
you can be what you are on paper, but once you get into a company and that you start talking to people, like they're looking for people who can talk to people and like people.
Totally. Absolutely.
And as a teacher, you're around people all the time. So
Natural.
it's a skill that you naturally have as a teacher.
You are so right. And I feel like this is, again, where people get stuck, where they're like, I'm a teacher. What else can I do? And I love how you said, you're like, I have so many skills. Like I can do anything. Like literally teachers can do anything. And you think about so many of the jobs that are out there, most jobs people can do with like very little training. And then you get, as you said, you get better and you learn. Like no one's expecting anyone to come in as like a complete expert, especially in a lot of the roles that we'd be applying to is like just leaving teaching. So there can be aspects that you're going to grow in, learn more, whatever it is. But when I think about the skills that teachers have, that is what makes them such incredible employees. And Lisa at the end will talk about this, how when she was a CEO, she's like, my best employees were teachers. And it's because they are able to communicate. You think about the basic things you do on a daily basis. First of all, you're managing, like I have 30 kids in my room. I'm managing 30 people, their needs, their learning styles at once. I am creating materials that can synthesize complex information in an easy digestible format to multiple audiences through multiple modes using, like you said, multiple different, whether it's a hook or I put this here to make it more effective. It's like, those are the things that they are looking for in a person. And those teachers have so naturally, and they would rather train you on like the small little aspects of your job than train you on like how to be a good presenter. You are just coming in, or how to build good relationships. You're just going to be coming in with those things naturally. So knowing that you did not have any experience in HR training before, how were you able to market yourself and make yourself known to employees? Like, I will be able to do this job, even though I wasn't doing that exact job before.
Today's episode is sponsored by the Teacher Career Transition Academy. Our academy provides expert career coaching, professional resume and cover letter templates, small group coaching sessions, and a supportive peer network. The best way to jumpstart your career change journey is to enroll in my free Beyond the Classroom Masterclass. Visit teachercareertransitionacademy.com/masterclass to enroll now. I'll also drop the link to register for free in the show notes of this episode. This free masterclass is sure to kickstart your journey or give you the boost you need to move the needle if you're already in the career change process. Enroll for free at teachercareertransitionacademy.com/masterclass.
Yeah. So something for me was really important was like crafting my resume towards the different jobs that I was applying for.
Yeah.
And then, interviewing and everything like that. Like it was just important for me to do some pre-work before an interview of just like, okay, this is who I am as a teacher. How can I make that who I am as like I said, training specialist, or like, how can I translate my skills from what I do in a classroom to what I can offer somebody else in, a company or wherever I'm going. And I think the prep work and the interview is really important, but
Totally.
it's also like people just want to get to know you. So it's important, but like you can't put it too much stress on it at the same time, because there's a balancing act, I feel like.
Is.
But I do feel like with at least the resume, like the resume gets your foot in a door. And then once you can talk to somebody, that's where you can show who you are. And so a lot of tips that I had for resumes was like writing down, I'm like a visual person. I need to like write stuff down too. So like I would write down all the different things that I do. And then I would use AI honestly to help me just like, this is what I do in a classroom. Can you help me like come up with words of what this would look like in a training field, or like a learning and development field, or customer success? And I wouldn't use it word for word because, there's always the AI trackers and everything like that. But I would base my bullet points on my resume towards that same language and towards the language that's coming out of the job posting, because that's how I found a lot of success in applying for jobs.
Danielle, if I could just like take like the 2 minutes of what you just said and like blast that out to everyone who's looking for a new job, I would, because that literally is the name of the game. And you said it perfectly. Your resume is the foot in the door. And
Mhm.
honestly, what's hardest in this job market right now is getting your foot in the door, and it is through your resume.
Mhm.
I know when I graduated college, the whole process, because like, especially it was like a little bit newer that you could like apply online. It was just get your resume out to as many people as possible. That strategy just doesn't work anymore. Our technology is more advanced. They're using whether it's a bot screener or some type of screener to analyze your resume to the job description. It's just giving you a rote score and they are passing on you or bringing you on to the next round based on that. Like there's so many things like that that have changed the market. So the approach that you took is exactly how we tell people to attack this job market. You figure
Mhm.
out what lanes you want to be in. You have resumes that are like built for those shells. But then, like you said, you still have to go and you have to customize every single resume for that job description. And I love that you were pulling out those same keywords, phrases, because that's what a lot of those screeners, whether a human or a bot, they're just looking to see how much correlation there is. So the more that you can use the direct terminology coming from the job description, the stronger of a match your resume is going to appear. Also, love that you brought up your use of AI. So can you actually talk a little bit more about how you use AI? I know you talked about it a little bit, but I think everyone hearing that again, this is such an easy way. If you're like, I don't know how to relate what I'm doing as a teacher to any new job, what you were doing was perfect. So can you actually explain that again?
Yeah, I would I use ChatGPT, but I
Yeah.
would just put in a prompt of like, I'm a special education teacher. These are some of the things that I do on a day-to-day basis. How can I like transition it or like kind of put it towards, this type of role, or like how can I make my resume fit more of this type of role? Sometimes I actually put in the whole like job posting
Yeah.
of the role that I was looking at and would put it in and have that, help me with matching my skills to that role specifically.
I love it.
Um and I will say, like, I didn't do that for every single job
Sure.
just because you don't have time to do it for every single job,
Totally.
especially when you're just trying to apply as much as possible. I
Mhm.
think it was definitely helpful in even just crafting like you said, my basic resume for a
Yeah.
certain type of role and then going from there. Because you'll find in a lot of these job descriptions, they use the same terms, they're looking for the same thing. So, um, that was just super helpful in crafting my resume for my transition.
Yes, totally. And like, I know my husband, he's in the job search right now. Like, that is how the only luck that he is having it for getting his foot in the door through just like a rote, I'm throwing my resume and application to the mix. It's the ones that he is spending time on, like really making sure that they are matching. But I agree with
Mhm.
you. And I will be the first to name too. When I was teaching, the last thing I wanted to do when I came home from teaching was do my next full-time job, which was me trying to find another job. Like,
Yeah.
it's exhausting.
I
Um,
was definitely trying to, like, use that time, like you said, to, like, upskill and, like, do all the things that people say, but it's exhausting, like you said, so you need some help and, like, with AI, I mean, like, you work smarter, not harder.
Yes. Oh, yes, that is name of the game, especially with your career transition. Like, we know how tired teachers are. We know how burnt out they are by the end of the day. So use the resources and use the tools that you have to think about how you can make this process smarter for you. Or
Mhm.
same thing, I even love the idea of like if I'm even unsure of what job I might want to do, use ChatGPT. Same thing. Dump all the things that you like, all the things I like in there, and ask it, give me 15 different jobs that I could do as a former teacher who's looking to do this and see where it
Mhm.
takes you. Yeah, we could spend literally all day long working on finding a new job. You could spend every minute of the day doing that,
Mhm.
but we know we don't always have that time, nor just the mental energy or the capacity to do it. So I love that. Work smarter and not harder when it comes to your career transition. And I have a few people are talking about this is what they feel like is the hardest part for them. Is how do we what people are saying is they're worrying that what they're putting in through ChatGPT is just like not good enough with the tracking system. So I'm wondering if we can just give anyone else any other advice around that. Like, what made you feel more confident about using those tools?
I Yeah, I do feel like using the ChatGPT, like I said, is, like, helpful for the bones of
Yeah,
your
totally.
resume, and I think putting like, there was certain jobs that I really wanted, I would look exactly in what they wrote in their bullet point, like, we need somebody who can, I don't know, track data and, like, keep log of it, blah, blah, blah. I would literally just take like the exact words and maybe change a couple of words because I'm
Yep.
like, I do that. So you
Totally.
take basically the whole sentence that they use and put it in your resume. And
Yep.
it does pull up on their system as far as I know. Like we were talking about this before. I'm in the HR of not like recruiting HR, so I don't see
Right.
that side of it. So all that I know is kind of what everybody else knows about recruiting and HR and everything like that. But that's really worked for me
Yeah.
of taking the things that are actually in the resume or the job posting and changing them a little bit to what matches for you, but like keeping those really big keywords is really
Definitely.
important.
You are absolutely right. And like you said, you want to make it relevant to you and especially around like data and tracking, like use your
Mhm.
own data from school, like talk about the systems you use. I know that pretty much every teacher these days has to be concerned with data in some
Mhm.
capacity or some subject. So using that real life example, but yes, pulling out that exact sentence, keyword, phrase. It,
Mhm.
and I know some of these things, like it seems silly, or I'm sure I know sometimes I'd read my resume and be like, this just sounds like robotic. Obviously, if I had ChatGPT help me, it might sound a little bit
Mhm.
robotic, but it just felt like it was like intentionally too specific. But like that is what we want, people. We want your resumes to be like as much of a match to that job description as possible.
Yeah.
I was also told recently that someone's husband started using, I guess Gemini has an extra plugin that you can use with like your resume that you can plug in the description and your resume or be like, help me write. So I will be honest, I have not tried it out, but if anyone is feel like they want to try out another AI type software, I guess Gemini has one. It seems to be free. So
Mhm.
try it out and let us know how it goes.
Mhm.
Um, and Julie is saying this too, like, how do you stand out when there's hundreds of applicants? Like that is, again, the name of the game is getting your foot in the door. And there are hundreds, sometimes thousands of applicants. So Julie, I will tell you, it's not always easy to stand out. But I think doing what Danielle was saying as much as possible, making that resume, especially for the jobs that you're like the most excited about, those are the ones that you want to spend the most time on, really making those strong materials for. Having as many of those skills match and relate from your resume to that description, that is how you're going to stand out. And let's be real, everyone, we're not going to get every single one. And there's going to be ones that we are the most excited about, that we spend the most amount of time on, and we don't hear anything back. And it stinks and it's demoralizing. And that is kind of like some lows that you ride during a career transition. But for every low that you have, I promise you'll have a peak that's just as high, if not higher. And you just have to keep riding and kind of working through those until you finally get to that point where like you have that win. But they will happen. I promise. They absolutely will happen. Any other tips from your resume or even application process? Like, was networking a part of what you did? Did you invest in like, or was really just like your resume and like making that specific? Was that your biggest push?
Yeah, I think for me too, building, like you said, LinkedIn was really important because it was, going out there and connecting with everybody that you know. I first started talking about my career transition with my family and then friends and then it kind of reached out from like your in real life, I guess, your first connections, your second connections, your
Yeah,
third connections, and you make connections of people just if you see a job that's interesting to you, you look up people who have that type of title and you reach out to them on LinkedIn. Or if there's a role at a company that you might know somebody that knows somebody at a company, you just really like it. The networking helps too because you get an idea of what it's like to work in that type of role or what it's like to work in that type of company. And so you talk to a lot of people, you meet a lot of people, and that was my dad is big on networking. He
yeah,
loves LinkedIn, and he was like, "That is the biggest way you'll get a job." He always would
totally.
say, like, your application without knowing somebody would go into a bigger pile than if you did talk to somebody,
Totally.
your application would be in, like, a smaller pile. So, I really tried to focus on that, and it was uncomfortable for me because I don't like networking. I don't think really a
Yeah.
lot of people would
And
like
it's not something that teachers often have to do in that way. Like we build relationships so we don't have to network per se, you know?
Yeah, and I also remember making a LinkedIn in college, and everyone was like, "Why are you making a LinkedIn? Like, you're a teacher, blah, blah, blah," and, like, it paid off now having the LinkedIn, so I feel like, why not, you know?
Totally.
And so I think too and I saw some of this in the questions as well, like, if you don't think you match all of those qualifications, that's okay. Like that's
Totally.
their wish list of what the perfect person would be for the role, what they think the perfect person would be for the role. I didn't match some of the qualifications of the job that I have now, and I still got the job. So the qualifications, like I've heard, like I said, they're more of a wish list of what they want. If you don't match 100%, that's okay.
Yes.
And so really
100%.
realizing that as well helped me feel more confident in
Yeah.
the job hunt. And so like networking and really fixing my resume and even watching like videos of like doing some upskilling. I was interested in instructional design. I didn't have the time to put all the work into that, but
Yeah.
I even got the verbiage of like, what is instructional design? How does that connect to learning and development in my role now? So I think that the upskilling, if you can do it with free courses, you could do it on LinkedIn Learning, you can do it on like YouTube and things like that. Like that's also really important to just try and figure out what you want to do as well.
Totally. And think about like what skills are the most important to upskill, because not all of them will be as important as another one compared to what you may be applying for.
Mm-hmm.
And let me first big shout out. I've seen just a crazy slew of questions just drop in. So I can promise you all, I have been writing down as many as I can to make sure that I can try to weave these into conversations. If I miss some, always pop them back in, because you guys did it all at once, man. It's just like one big dump of questions at once, which I love. And I promise we're going to get to as many as we can. First, I just want to point out, someone asked, is this being recorded? Yes, it is. And for anyone that attended today, you will be getting a recording sent to your email. For people who are members, a recording of this will be in the Academy in the next like week or so. And for those of you who aren't members, one of the benefits of being a member of the Academy is that every single webinar that we've done, you have access to every single webinar interview that we've ever done with people that use it anytime from the Academy. And then same with any of the future ones too. So like I said, I'll definitely give more information about that at the end. But if you're wondering, is this being recorded? Yes, it is. And it'll be sent to you within the next day, so you can watch it again. People are having some more questions about networking as well. Like, how do you do it? What do you say to them? And I think it really depends on like the methods in which you are networking. For me, I know I was using LinkedIn the most, and doing exactly what you said. I found people that were in that same type of role, similar type of company of what I wanted to do. And I just did like an informational interview with them. Big plug too. We do have a webinar coming up about informational interviews. So if you're like, I don't know what that is, I don't know how to do them, I would definitely plan on joining that one. It'll give you all the tips you need. But for you, like when you reached out to someone, what did you say to them? Because like you said, it is kind of like weird and awkward. And I will tell you, in the business world, it's not awkward at all. It feels awkward for us on the outside coming in. But what would you say to someone when you were trying to connect with them and network with them?
Yeah, I feel like if it was over, a video call or if it was a chat message, I'd just be like, hey, like I'm really interested in transitioning from teaching to X, Y, and Z. What do you do day to day? Like what types of skills do you feel that are the most important here in your role? What do you like? Those types of things of, especially for transitioned teachers, I would reach out to a lot as well, because teachers would transition a lot from, learning and development from teaching. So I reached out to a lot of teachers who transitioned into things like instructional design, things like training, and asked them their experience as well with transitioning. But overall, you kind of have to have like your elevator pitch of like, this is who I am. This is what I do now. This is where I'm looking to go. What do you do? Like have some questions, because there was one time, like, I feel like my first face-to-face call felt a little awkward because I didn't have I kind of expected them to just talk the whole time. And it was like, I'm requesting the talk to somebody. So I should be prepared with the questions. So just keep that in mind too, of like, when you're reaching out to somebody, have a couple questions in mind and then keep going with your conversation. And people are always so nice and they always want to help.
Well, friends, that concludes part 1 of this teacher career transition story, but there's a lot more valuable information coming your way in part 2 that you don't want to miss. So check out our channel for part 2. And remember, friends, the journey is just the beginning. Embrace the adventure.